Sometimes the greatest mysteries are not found in tombs or temples, but at the bottom of the sea. Thus begins the story of the Antikythera mechanism, an artifact that has puzzled scientists, historians, and archaeologists for more than a century. The year is 1901. A group of Greek divers, while exploring the remains of a shipwreck near the island of Antikythera, between the Peloponnese and Crete, discovered something that would change the way we understand ancient knowledge. Among bronze statues, amphorae and fragments of Roman ships, a corroded object appeared, covered in shells and rust. At first glance it looked like just an unrecognizable piece of metal. But when they examined it in more detail, what they found made no sense for its time. Inside that block were hidden perfectly cut cogwheels, superimposed gears, circular scales, and mechanics so sophisticated they seemed impossible. The problem, that object was more than 2,000 years old. At a time when the Greeks were thought to have used only basic tools and pulleys, this artifact looked like something out of an 18th century clock, but miniature and much more complex. For years, no one knew exactly what it was. Some thought it was part of an astrolabe, others that it was a kind of nautical chronometer. But the pieces didn't fit. Literally. How could such mechanical precision exist in an age without lathes, without clocks, without known gear machines? The surprise was even greater when modern research revealed that this device was capable of predicting eclipses, calculating astronomical positions, and modeling weather cycles with astonishing accuracy. Thus was born the legend of the Antikythera mechanism, a kind of analog computer from the ancient world, which lay forgotten for centuries at the bottom of the sea, until chance brought it to light. And the most intriguing thing, we only found one. Once scientists began to seriously study the Antikythera mechanism, they realized that they were not dealing with a simple nautical artifact. What they had in their hands was an extraordinary precision machine, designed for a very specific purpose, to model the cosmos. The device, made of bronze, was originally composed of at least 30 interconnected gears, housed inside a wooden box the size of a shoebox. From the outside, it looked like a simple instrument, but inside, it was a masterpiece of engineering. And what did he do? It calculated the position of the sun, the moon, and possibly the planets in the sky for a given date. He could predict solar and lunar eclipses based on astronomical cycles known as the Saros cycle. It showed the 365-day Greek calendar, including the months and even the Olympic years. It contained rotating spheres, pointers, and graduated scales that indicated celestial positions with millimeter precision. In other words, the mechanism was capable of simulating the motion of the universe centuries before telescopes, mechanical clocks, or modern computers existed. An impressive detail is that some gears had perfectly distributed triangle-shaped teeth and were mounted with a reduction system to adjust the rotation speed. Something that would not be seen again with that complexity until more than 1,000 years later in medieval clocks. In addition, certain texts engraved on the device in ancient Greek served as instructions for use. I mean, it wasn't just a machine, it also had a manual. Who did that in 100 BC? The Greeks, apparently. The most impressive thing is that, using only knobs and gears, the user could turn a wheel and see how the celestial bodies moved, moving forward or backward in time, as if consulting a mechanical model of the sky. It was, literally, a portable astronomical calculator, designed with such precision that it's hard to believe it was created more than 2 millennia ago. And what worries experts most is not what he did, but what it implies about the lost knowledge of antiquity. When scholars began to understand the complexity of the Antikythera mechanism, they faced a puzzling dilemma. How is it possible that such a sophisticated machine was built more than 1,000 years before similar mechanisms existed in medieval Europe? Because the truth is that we do not know of any other device with comparable gears before the 14th century. And yet there it was, a 1st century BC Greek machine capable of performing complex astronomical calculations. With a mechanical precision worthy of the Renaissance, but built in the Bronze Age. The question is inevitable. Was this a one-off invention, the fruit of a unique genius? Or was it part of a technological tradition far more advanced than we thought, and simply lost? The Antikythera mechanism has forced historians to revise their ideas about ancient technology. Because if a civilization was capable of building something like that, then maybe they weren't as far removed from our era as we tend to think. And the most disturbing thing is this: no other similar mechanisms have been found. Where are the prototypes? The previous designs? The improved versions? The technical manuals? Everything we know comes from a single object, found by accident, in a forgotten shipwreck. Some researchers suggest that the knowledge needed to build this machine was concentrated in a few wise men, astronomers, mathematicians, precision craftsmen who worked in cities like Rhodes or Alexandria, where ancient science flourished. And when those cities fell, knowledge disappeared with them. That would explain why there was no continuity. The Antikythera mechanism would be a solitary jewel. The last, or only, representative of a technology that was lost in the silence of the centuries. In summary, we have two options. Or we underestimate the ingenuity of the ancients. Or we are missing out on much more than we imagine. We know what the Antikythera mechanism does. We know that it was incredibly advanced. But what we don't know for sure is who built it, or for whom. And that's where one of the greatest mysteries of ancient archaeology begins. One of the strongest theories is that the mechanism was created on the island of Rhodes, an important center of technical and astronomical knowledge in the Hellenistic world. First-class astronomers, engineers, and mathematicians lived there. And among them, one of the names that resonates most is Hipparchus of Nicaea. Hipparchus was an astronomer of the 2nd century BC. Considered by many to be the father of trigonometry, and one of the first to develop accurate models of the motion of the sun and moon. Some of the formulas he used appear to be incorporated into the mechanism's calculations. Coincidence? Maybe not. Another candidate is Archimedes, the famous genius from Syracuse. Although he lived a century earlier, he is known to have designed complex mechanisms, including mechanical planetary gears. His talent was so legendary that even the Romans respected him, before killing him. Some believe that the Antikythera mechanism could have been inspired by his designs or even be a late version of his work. As for its purpose, there are several hypotheses. Portable astronomical calendar, a tool for studying the skies and teaching astronomy. Advanced navigation instrument, although this is less debated, some believe it may have helped plan routes based on the stars. Prestige object or diplomatic gift, such a complex piece could have been a gift to impress kings or patrons. Ritual or religious use, some believe it was used to predict eclipses as divine signs. What we do know is that the ship carrying him was full of valuable objects, suggesting it was owned by someone very wealthy or influential. Perhaps a Roman nobleman, a scholar traveling with his library. Or a merchant carrying science to distant lands. The fact that we only have one recovered specimen reinforces the aura of mystery. Was it unique? Were there others? Was it part of a secret tradition lost to history? The truth is that, so far, the Antikythera mechanism is the only tangible evidence of a technology that doesn't quite fit its time or our narrative. More than a century after its discovery, the Antikythera mechanism continues to challenge modern scientists. Despite technological advances, 3D scans, and computer models, we still don't know exactly how the entire system worked or what other hidden functions it might have. For decades, the fragments were too corroded to be analyzed in detail. But with the advent of technologies like computed tomography and high-resolution X-rays, researchers were able to see inside the metal without damaging it. And what appeared was even more amazing. Hidden inscriptions, complex gears, and an internal structure much more elaborate than previously believed. Thanks to this, international teams such as the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project have managed to create functional models of the mechanism. Physical and digital replicas that allow us to turn the knobs, move the hands, and observe how the machine simulated celestial movements. A project that combines history, engineering, astronomy, and archaeological patience. But even today, with all that technology, there are still pieces missing. It is estimated that only a third of the original mechanism has been recovered, meaning there are still gears, functions, and details that we don't know about. Some believe it included all 5 planets visible to the naked eye, others that it had even more complex predictive functions. And here's the most incredible thing. More than 2,000 years later, this device remains an enigma. A bronze puzzle created by hands that understood the universe in a way we are only just beginning to rediscover. The Antikythera mechanism is not only a technical marvel. It is also a silent warning. Knowledge can be born, but it can also be lost. And sometimes, the furthest thing from the front is not ahead, but behind, covered in rust at the bottom of the sea.